And so we're going to pick up reading with Deandra Jordan. And I chose this picture kind of ironically, as you'll see. If only I was as bold as Raoul. The other day, he left one of his paintings out on Mr. Ward's desk where anybody could see it, which was the point. He sometimes works at Mr. Ward's desk during lunch. The wet paintbrushes sticking up out of the jar, always a sign that he's been at it again. So, of course, anybody who glances over in that direction will be tempted to stop by and look. This particular painting was rough, but anyone could tell it was Raoul. A self portrait. He'll probably hang it in class. Back in September, Mr. Ward covered two of the classroom walls with black construction paper and then scattered paper frames up and down the walls, each one a different size and color. Now, half the room looks sort of like an art gallery, which was the idea. We're supposed to use the paper frames for our work. Whether we put up poems or photographs or even paintings is up to us, so long as the work is ours and we can tie it in with our study of the Harlem Renaissance. I guess our old self portrait fits, since we've been talking a lot about identity. He'll probably put it up next to his poem. You should have seen him hang that thing. You'd think he was handling $1 million masterpiece the way he took his time placing it just so. If you look close, you can see the smudges where he erased a word or two and rewrote it. Mr. Ward must be in shock. He could never get Raoul to rewrite a lick of homework or anything else. And don't even talk to him about checking his spelling. He'll launch into a tirade on you in a minute. What? He'll snap. You think Puerto Ricans can't spell? Forget it. Anyway, I dare you to find one misspelled word in that poem of his. Maybe it's a visual thing. Maybe he wants his poem to look as good as his self portrait. And it is good. I've never tried doing a self portrait, but why not? I could maybe do one in charcoal. I like drawing faces in charcoal. I've been drawing since I can't remember when. Not that anyone here knows that, except Tanisha. And she found out by accident when she came to my house to study once and saw a couple of drawings hanging in my room. Mom loves my watercolors, and she hung one in the living room, but it isn't signed. Nobody ever mentions it, especially not my father. He's not too wild about my art. Mostly he's disappointed. First off, that I wasn't born a boy, and second, that I won't play ball like one. I'm 6 feet tall, almost as tall as he, and he figures the height is wasted on me, since I don't share his dreams of me going to the WNBA. I keep telling him not to hold his breath. I hate always being the tallest girl in school. Everybody expects me to play basketball, so they pick me for their team, throw me the ball, and wait for me to shoot. Big mistake. I fumble every time. Then they have the nerve to get mad at me like I did it on purpose. But basketball's not my game. I have no game. I'm an artist like Raul. The difference is I don't tell anybody. I refuse to give them new reasons to laugh at me. The Jolly Green Giant jokes are bad enough. Yeah, it's definitely time to try a self portrait. I think I'll paint myself in front of an easel with a basketball jersey sticking up out of the trash. Then I could hang it in Mr. Ward's class, see if anybody notices. So I obviously put her with a basketball as a way for you to remember her because it's kind of ironic here. She is tall, and so everyone just expects that she must love basketball. She must be on the basketball team because she has the height for it. But that's not necessarily the case. I always relate her character. My dad has a cousin who, no lie, is 7 foot 6 inches tall. Obviously full grown. He's like 50 something, but 7'6". When he was in high school, he was 7 feet tall, and around 7'1" by the time he graduated high school. And so everyone automatically was like, he must be the star of the basketball team. He hates basketball. He's just not good at it. And so he didn't want to play. And so it was almost like people expect so much that they're disappointed. And that's kind of what's happening to her. She's 6 foot tall, so everyone expects that she's got to be an amazing basketball player. She doesn't like it. She's not good at it. It's not her passion. And they always feel let down. And more so than anyone, her father is super disappointed. But primarily, as she says, because he wanted a son who would play basketball and he got a daughter who doesn't like basketball. So he treats her like a disappointment. He treats her like she's not worthy of his affection. What she is very good at is painting and art, and mom seems to be very proud of her, but dad is not. So, here is her poem, and I'm going to intentionally read it in this way, as you'll see. It's called If. If I stood on tiptoe, reached up and sculpted mountains from clouds, would you laugh out loud? If I dipped my brush in starlight, painted a ribbon of night on your windowsill, would you still laugh? If I drew you adrift in a pen and ink sea in a raging storm, would you laugh at me? If I planted watercolor roses in your garden, would you laugh then, or would you breathe deep to sample their scent? I wonder. So she's basically asking, if I tried all these new things, would you laugh at me? Or would you accept me for who I am? Would you be proud of my talent? If the sister read any faster, I'd be looking for her Supergirl cape. Talk about nervous. Deandra's hands were shaking the whole time she was holding that poem. She sure spooks easy for somebody so tall. Yo, I said, take a deep breath. Ain't nobody gonna hurt you here. She smiled a little and tried to slow down, but I swear that girl burned rubber getting back to her seat when she was through. I guess she's not exactly used to the limelight. She's got plenty of company. 4 more kids read their poetry for the first time today. They were shaking in their boots. It was all good. I only had to tell one of them to loosen up. Guess you could call that progress. So Tyrone's become like the unofficial leader of this thing, and he feels like he should tell people how to act or how to behave up there. Devin Hope, another basketball one. Jump shot. What kind of name is that? Not mine, but try telling that to the brothers at school. That's all they ever call me. You'd think it was written somewhere. Tall guys must be jocks. No, make that tall people, because Deandra's got the same problem. Everybody expects her to shoot hoops. The difference is she's got no talent in that direction. Ask me, she's got no business playing b-ball. That's my game. I've got good height and good hands, and that's a fact. But what about the rest of me? Forget who I really am, who I really want to be. The law is be cool, be tough, play ball, and use books for weight training, not reading. Otherwise, everybody gives you grief. Don't ask me why I care. Especially when the grief is coming from a punk like Wesley. Judging from the company he keeps, he's a gangsta in sheep's clothing. I don't even know why he and Tyrone bother coming to school. It's clear they don't take it seriously, although maybe they're starting to. That's according to Sterling, who believes in praying for everybody and giving them the benefit of the doubt. I love the preacher man, but I think he may be giving these brothers too much credit. Anyway, when I hang around after school and any of the guys ask me, Yo, Devin, where you going? I tell them I'm heading for the gym to meet Coach and work on my layup. Then once they're out the door, I cut upstairs to the library to sneak a read. It's not much better at home. My older brother's always after me to hit the streets with him. Calls me a girly man for loving books and jazz. Don't get me wrong. People's alright. Girls like you for one thing. But it's not you they like, it's Mr. Basketball. And if that's not who you are inside, then it's not you they're liking. So what's the point? Still, I don't mind playing, just not all the time. This year's looking better. My English teacher has got us studying the Harlem Renaissance, which means we have to read a lot of poetry. That suits me just fine. Gives me a reason to drag around my beat up volumes of Langston Hughes and Claude McKay. Whenever anybody bugs me about it, all I have to say is homework. Even so, I'd rather the brothers not catch me with a book in my hand. Or, I'm sorry, with my head in a book. The other day, I duck into the library, snare a corner table, and hunker down with 3,000 years of black poetry. Raynard sees me, but it's not like he's going to tell anybody. He hardly speaks, and he never hangs with any of the brothers I know. So I breathe easy. I'm sure no one else has spotted me until a head pops up from behind the stacks. It's Janelle Battle for my English class. I freeze and wait for the snickers I'm used to. Wait for her to say something like, What, Coach got you reading now? Afraid you're going to flunk out and drop off the team? But all she does is smile and wave. Like it's no big deal for her to be for me to be in a library reading. Like I have a right to be there if I want. Then she pads over, slips a copy of The Panther and the Lash on my table, and walks away without saying a word. It's one of my favorite books by Langston Hughes. How could she know? Seems like she's noticed me in the library more often than I thought. Janelle's all right. So what if she's a little plump? At least when you turn the light on upstairs, somebody's at home. She's smart and she doesn't try hiding it, which gets me thinking. Maybe it's time I quit sneaking in and out of the library like some thief. Maybe it's time I just started being who I am. Right, so he has a similar story to Deandra in the fact that he wants to do more than play ball. But where Deandra is not talented and she hates basketball, he actually likes basketball. He knows he's good at it. He enjoys being a part of the team. He likes the attention he gets. He's talked about how the girls like him because he's on a basketball team. But he struggles because it seems like they only like him because he's on a basketball team, and he's intelligent. He wants them to know that, like, hey, I can play basketball, but I've also got a lot of brains and I can talk to you about things. But he's not sure the girls actually care about that. And he knows, he even says his teammates don't care about that. Like, it's not considered cool if you're smart. And so he doesn't want to necessarily be smart in all areas, but he's passionate about jazz and poetry, and he loves reading, and he's sneaking around to read because he doesn't want to get caught reading because he's afraid they'll pick on him just for enjoying reading. So he's struggling with his own identity here in that sense. So his poem is actually the basis for this novel, and it's called Bronx Masquerade. I woke up this morning exhausted from hiding the me of me. So I stand here confiding there's more to Devon than jump shot and rim. I'm more than tall and lengthy of limb. I dare you to peep behind these eyes, discover the poet in tough guy disguise. Don't call me jump shot. My name is Surprise. So he has a very short and sweet poem, but he's basically saying there's more to me than just an athlete. He's like, y'all call me jump shot, but my name's Surprise. Like, I will surprise you with who I am and what I can do. So Tyrone says, shoot, if I had moves like Devin, I'd be cruising cross court with Scottie Pippen. That's probably what the brother's going to end up doing anyway, because he ain't half the word man I am. Of course, I've probably been at it longer. He might get better. I said might. And who knows, Muhammad Ali was a boxer and a poet. Maybe it's time for another hoop man to rise to the occasion and show Shaquille he ain't the only word man on the court. All right, so we have a new one now, Lupe Algerin. Janelle's got a thing for Devin, but she ain't the only one. Last week, I seen some girl named Beth in here staring at him like he was chocolate ice cream she couldn't wait to spoon up. She don't even belong in this class. Come to think of it, a lot of extra kids been showing up in our class on open mic Fridays. They heard about the poetry and they've been coming to check it out. A bunch of teachers are getting mad at Mr. Ward with all these kids skipping their classes. Everybody's talking about it. Poor Mr. Ward. He sends students back where they belong when he catches them. Our class is big, though, and it's easy to duck down behind someone in the back of the room and hide. Sometimes we're halfway through the period before he notices someone who doesn't belong. All right, so I'm going to stop there for a second because this is something that probably doesn't make sense to you. You look around your classroom and you're like, how could you see somebody, or how could you not see somebody's snuck in? In the Bronx, they are well known for having very overcrowded classrooms. So a typical class, and I've spoken to people in this area, could have 40 to 50 students in it. So it's already pretty darn packed. And so if a couple of kids are skipping class because they want to come to Open Mic Friday, it sounds like a fun lesson, they want to be there. 2 or 3 kids could probably easily sneak in the back and sit there, and they kind of get lost in the crowd as the teacher's looking around. So what Mr. Ward's having a problem with is kids are skipping their other classes, and it's his responsibility as a teacher, just as I would if I found somebody had come into our class that didn't belong, to send them back because they're missing instruction. Their teacher needs them there, and he's doing the best he can, but he just can't catch them all, and he can't catch a break either. But he caught Beth last week, and I saw Janelle grinning. She don't have Devin yet, but still, she wants him all to herself. I know that feeling when you love somebody like that. And not just a guy. I love my Rosa. Rosa's so beautiful, I wish I could bring her to school. Mr. Ward would love her. Her toes are like tiny churros you want to nibble all the time. And I do whenever my big sister Christina has me over to babysit. She smiles more than she did before she had Rosa, or maybe she's just happy to be out of the house. I would be. There's nothing for me there, that's for sure. So if you haven't picked it up, Rosa is her tiny niece, who is supposed to be like maybe 2 years old. My brother Tito left long ago, and then Christina. So now it's just me now, with mommy and her husband Berto. Besides her factory job, all she cares about is him. As for Berto, he's got no use for nobody's kids, even mommy's. Why does she put up with him? All he does is belch beer and scream at her to bring him and his buddies more while they sit around playing dominoes or watching fights on TV. I bet Poppy doesn't guzzle beer all the time, I often say to Mommy. You don't know what he does, Lupe, she always says. How could you? You were only 5 when he left. And he left us on his own, Lupe. Pero, what did I expect? He was a Ibero through and through. He couldn't wait to get back to his precious mountains. And this is the man you love? But Berto, who puts food in your mouth. Him you despise. Dios mío. So, Ibero, if you look it up, is kind of like a Spanish slang for like a redneck or a hillbilly. So, Mom doesn't have much respect for him. I hate it when she calls Poppy a hick, the way she spits the word out. I used to write him so many letters, but he never wrote back. Why, Poppy? There's nobody here to love me now. Mommy has Berto, Tito has his canallas on the streets, Christina has Chuch and Rosa, and me? Raul's been giving me the eye lately, but he could forget it. He's too much in love with himself, always drawing pictures of his own face. What's that about? Besides, I already got a man, my Marco. Except Marco hardly has time for me, even though he claims I'm his woman, his one and only. Sometimes I say my rosaries and beg for someone to love. I lay in bed under the crucifix and pray till my fingers go numb on the beads. Lately, when I look at Rosa, I think I should do like my friend Gloria Martinez. I should make a baby of my own. Maybe that's the answer. I like Marco good enough. I don't want to marry him, but he's cute. We'd make pretty babies together, I think. I've always loved babies. When I was younger, I would wrap my doll in the lace for my first communion, and I'd show her off to all my neighbors. Mita, Mita, I'd say. See my baby? Isn't she perfect? And she loved me better than anybody because I was her mother. It was only pretend, of course, and if I had a real baby, she would love me like that. The way Gloria's baby loves her. The way Rosa loves Christina. I saw Gloria and her baby in the grocery last night. I waved to them, and all the time I'm thinking, Gloria, you have no idea how lucky you are. So, Lupe doesn't really have or doesn't feel like she has people that love her. Her siblings have all grown up and moved out of the house. Her dad's moved away and doesn't communicate with her, and she's, I say stuck, but she's stuck at home with her mom and stepdad. And her mom's always at work, and stepdad doesn't really care, and so she she feels like she needs somebody that she can love that will love her unconditionally. And she gets the idea that if she has a baby, that's babies do love unconditionally. If you think about it, if a baby gets hurt, an adult, if you hurt them, they can walk away forever, but a baby will always come back. And so she's saying, like, if only I had a baby, I'd have somebody that would love me no matter what. It sounds like so much fun. And she's looking at her friend Gloria, who is a teen mother, and she's saying she has no idea how lucky she is. I wish I could be like that. So we're going to read her poem, but then in a second, we're also going to see the flip side of that. Because remember, the grass is always greener on the other side here. So Lupe's poem is called Brown Hands. You, Macho Soledad, the secret I whisper in the night. You fill your eyes with me like a mirror I see myself in. Our twin hearts beat like congas, the rhythm churning our blood to salsa, our brown hands entwined beneath moonshine, clasping all the love we'll ever need. So the daydreamer speaks. Every time I look at Lupe, she seems like she's somewhere else. Or maybe she just wants to be. Maybe she's thinking about the guy in that poem. But if she is, how come she never smiles? So he's noticing that she always looks like she's far off, she's wishing for something more, and she always seems depressed. So now we're going to meet Gloria, who is the friend of Lupe, who's a teen mother. So, Lupe's jealous of Gloria, and this is Gloria's side now. Pampers, applesauce, strained peas. I look up for a minute, see Lupe smiling at me. I nod, then go back to making my list. Orange juice, baby powder, soy milk. I didn't even know what soy milk was a year ago. Gloria. Raynard pokes me in the arm, gestures towards the front of the room. Mr. Ward is heading in my direction. I put my shopping list away before he can ask me what soy milk has to do with Zora Neale Hurston and the book he's been reading to us. Their eyes were watching God. I turn to Raynard and nod thanks. He doesn't say much, but he always looks out for me. I should have made a shopping list before I left the house this morning, but I barely got out as it is. Angel spit up on my shirt right when I was headed out the door. It's like he picks the time to do it, like he doesn't want me to leave. It took me 10 minutes to clean him up and find myself another shirt. If Mommy hadn't done the laundry for me yesterday, I wouldn't even have a clean one to wear. So already we're seeing she's showing some of the challenges that Lupe does not see, but Gloria faces. So she's got her grocery list of all the things she's going to have to buy. And I don't know if you've had to buy these things before, but just eyeballing this list, we're looking at $40 to $50 worth of stuff that she has on this list right now. Pampers are expensive, and she's a high school student trying to figure out how to buy this stuff on a weekly basis. So she's spending a few $100s a month. And then she's saying, as she's trying to get ready, the baby spits up on her. She has to go find new clothes. She didn't have time to do laundry. Thankfully, her mom did some for her. And she's just kind of running around. She was almost late to school. It's not an easygoing day. It's a hectic thing. I was stupid to think I could do this on my own. Even with Mommy's help, I hardly have time to study or do my homework. Last week, Lupe asked if I could hang out with her after school, and I just about laughed in her face. Chica, I wanted to say, them days are over for me. I go straight home now, except for maybe stopping at the grocery. It's no more Gloria Loca party girl. Fun ain't even in my vocabulary anymore. Once you have a kid, everything changes. So she also is saying her whole life has changed. She has all these expenses, but her friends want to hang out after school, and she has to tell them no. She can't hang out after school. She's a mother now. She has to go home. She has to take care of the baby. She doesn't get to hang out with her friends or play with her friends. She doesn't get that me time. She has responsibilities. If I could go back, do things over, but I can't. No sense dreaming about it. I love my angel, and that's no lie, but I wish he didn't cry so much. He always wants something: his bottle, a new diaper, the teddy he dropped on the floor for the 16th time in a row, or else he wants me to hold him, like I can rock a baby and write a paper at the same time. Forget about sleep. He wakes me up in the middle of the night so much, I practically wake up on my own now. 2 weeks ago, he wakes me up crying with a fever. I don't know what to do. I rub him with a cold washcloth, and then I take his temperature. I give him baby Tylenol, walk him up and down, and I take his temperature. I sing to him. I rock him. I give him a bottle of water and take his temperature. I must have taken his temperature 10 times before his fever finally broke. Then I put him in bed with me so I can watch him. By the time I close my eyes, the clock radio says 3:16 a.m. The next day, I have a math test, which I flunk, of course. I keep nodding off between reading the problems and working out the solutions. I was a mess. Lucky for me, when I explained what happened, the teacher let me take the test over. I still got 2 years to go before I graduate, but I've got to make it, and I've got to go to college, period. Angel's father already told me straight up he ain't having nothing to do with this baby, so it's on me. Mommy says she'll help, but it's me who has to make a good life for Angel. It's like she says, my life ain't just about me anymore. It's about my son. Lupe has no idea how lucky she is. How can I get through to her? So I like that we see this flip side and these perspectives, that Lupe says she wishes she could be like Gloria, and Gloria's like, oh my goodness, I wish I could be like Lupe and just be a kid again and enjoy I don't want to say enjoy life, but enjoy my freedom and growing up and the experiences of growing up. So she writes a poem called Message to a Friend. That girl in the mirror, daughter of San Juan, made of sunshine and sugarcane, looks like me. She used to run weightless, time a perfumed bottle hanging from her neck, mañana a song. She made up the words to while she skipped until the day she stopped. Caught the toothless, squirming bundle, heaven dropped into her arms, and gravity kicked in. Her life took a new spin. The screaming gift did not lead her to dream places or fill all her empty spaces like she thought. Silly chica. She bought into Hollywood's lie that love is mostly what you get instead of what you give, and what it costs, like the perfume bottle ripped from her neck and sent flying to the ground. The crashing sound of years lost shattered in her ears, and new fears emerged from the looking glass. Sometimes I wonder if she'll ever sing again. So obviously, this is a poem that she's written kind of for Lupe. And she's saying, I remember when I used to run weightless. Like I could do anything I wanted and I had all the time in the world because time was in a perfumed bottle, like this sweet bottle just hanging from my neck. I could do whatever I want. I sang about tomorrow and I skipped everywhere until the day that everything stopped. And she describes that day as the day she caught a toothless, squirming bundle that heaven dropped in her arms. So she knows it's a blessing that it comes from heaven, but it is her baby. And she's like, and my whole life changed. Like the gift is screaming all the time. It's not taking me to new places. It's not fulfilling my dreams. I thought it would, but it's not. And I feel lied to. And she's like, I don't know if I'll ever be the same again. Girl's got a lot of heart. Coming back to school after having a baby? I saw her around here last year. Man, did she get big. She shrunk right back down, though. She's fine. So I can see why a guy would want to give her a child. Not like any other guy will get the chance, the way she steers clear and keeps to herself. Fine as she is, the girl ain't no dummy. Not writing poetry like that. She should put it up on the wall. If you ask me, it belongs there.